I had the privilege of interviewing Sheniz Kassam, one of the owners of Noorish Conscious Eatery and Superfood Elixir Bar. Noorish is a raw and vegan restaurant that has really become the epicenter in our community, and really in a short period of time, about a year and a half. And when I asked myself why, I think Sheniz really reveals it in this interview, where they have this perfect balance of really bringing those high ideals and like leading edge principles in business with making it financially sustainable and just bringing good entrepreneurial skills to the table. So Noorish is this wonderful place that not only offers good food, but Sheniz coined it right, where they are a center of awakening under the guise of a restaurant. So I hope you enjoy the interview.
Hi, I'm Sheniz Kassam. I own Noorish Conscious Eatery and Superfood Elixir Bar with my brother Ayaz. And we've been in the business for almost 2 years now. We opened in October 2011. And basically we run a conscious eatery is what we call it, which is an organic vegetarian restaurant. And we also have a retail store and a teaching kitchen and an elixir bar and a yoga studio. And so all those pieces combined kind of feed into the idea of inspiring the mind, body, and soul, and offering some of the highest integrity products that we can on the market so that people have access to good ideas and good food and good people, and that sort of thing.
Wow. How did this all come into being?
That's a great question. It was certainly not on my intended path. My brother and I have always lived this lifestyle of practicing meditation and yoga and eating healthy, connecting to our community, and really growing that type of localized, healthy network of community resilience. And however, we had different lifestyles altogether. I was in a background in disaster and emergency management, and my brother's has a background in real estate. And so we just promised each other one day that we would connect and create our lifestyle to reflect, or our business to reflect our lifestyle. And that's really where this came about. And through a series of coincidences and finding the building and connecting with community about a plan that would really help grow Edmonton, we came up with Noorish in a business plan and got passed through and found some funding, and all of a sudden we both decided to leave our careers and start this project.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what were the initial consequences of like first opening, like the things that you learned and the things that you wondered about in
yes.
awe?
Business is, it's an art, and the more and more we play the game of understanding abundance consciousness versus scarcity, and how we manifest things into being, and how we set our intentions right, and how we surround ourselves with the right people through putting our values out there. Just a combination of all those things we began to learn in the beginning. The first part about business, like the hard knocks that you really have to learn, is you need capital. And, you know, sometimes intention and interest and passion can only take you so far. And that always will exist, and it should exist behind the scenes. But in the beginning, you need to take stock of your resources. Like, what skill sets do you have around you in your friend group? What financial resources and angel investment and capital can you garner to really build your concept? And then the next part is gaining a sense of what the demand is for your service. So you may really feel like this is something I want to bring to the world, but do people want to purchase this, or do people want to utilize this, or is that market already saturated? Or you know, really trying to understand your market is super important. So my brother and I would, stand out on the corner of this street and right here on 85th Ave and 109th Street and just survey people going by. Would you are you vegetarian, or would you like to eat at a vegetarian restaurant if that existed in your community? So garnering pre-commitment almost, and exposing your concept and just getting out there and talking to people and finding out what people would buy and what people wouldn't buy and how much they would buy it for, and really hitting the pavement in terms of like the hard knocks of business, and connecting with your actual clientele before the doors open is really important. So that type of stuff happened in the beginning, but my brother and I were really, really clear that we wanted to bring a beacon of light to Edmonton, and a center of inspiration. And we often say, this is a center for awakening under the guise of a cafe. And, a lot of that used to fuel the rest of our intention. And so, yeah,
wow.
That's how it all got started.
I really love what you said, because it really feels like it, of course it's a beautiful idea, but it was a really grounded way that you came about that, like to do your research ahead of time, and like to realize that it actually takes a little bit of left brain thinking to get kind of a holistic right brain idea out into the world.
Yeah. And we certainly couldn't have done it without also faith in the fact that we had a community of people that would back us up, and a community of people that we could sort of lean into and trust that, like, the beginnings of something that could flower, there's already interest in it, and there's already people that want this to come to the community. And, so a lot of that really created the success that we have now.
Wow. So one of the things that I know that you drew inspiration from was the sacred commerce that came out of the Cafe Gratitude in San Francisco. Will you speak a little bit to that?
Definitely. That was one of our most inspirational concepts that before we opened the cafe, my brother and I had gone to California, and we visited Gratitude Cafe, or Cafe Gratitude, and talked to some of the owners and just sort of got an idea behind it. So the owners of Cafe Gratitude wrote a book called Sacred Commerce, and basically the principles behind that, the way they run their cafe, is entirely focused and centered on setting the stage, or creating a game with the intention for the highest outcome to be achieved, whatever you choose that outcome to be. So they're really fun, and they like to play, and they also believe in like living a sacred, reverent life, and that it's all about present moment, and about connection, and about the people we meet, and how we treat each other. So the concepts of sacred commerce, on many levels it helped inform us on how to treat our staff, how to work with our employees. For example, it's like one of the principles, or one of the main guiding concepts, is like the customer's not always right, the staff are just always happy. And when you start with the root, when you start with the staff are always happy, and you really focus on like how people are at the core in the seed, that ricochets out, and they know how to reflect the values of the company. They know how to respond appropriately. They know how to be entirely self-responsible for their emotional state when they come into work, and be self-governing bodies of positive attitude. So it comes down to working and coaching our staff to understand how they can reclaim their own life by recognizing that they're entirely in control, and they govern how they choose to react to life, and how positive they choose to show up to life. And it's not always positive, but there's space in it all for the entire personality that you are. So there's concepts like offering clearings at the beginning of a shift, just so people do show up with all their baggage. It's like sacred commerce is kind of the opposite of what normal commerce is. So usually you're like, leave your personal life at the door and enter, work, clock in, and get balanced and focused and do your job, and then go home. But in the sacred commerce principles, it's all about bring your baggage with you through that door. Come entirely as you are. Let us hear what you like. Let us hear you, so that emotion can pass, and that you can show up entirely present to your job and not be thinking about this and stirring, and not present to your life and present to your customers and that sort of thing. That's one concept of clearings that comes out of sacred commerce that we employed at Noorish. The other part of it is really beginning to think from an abundance consciousness perspective as opposed to a scarcity consciousness perspective. And mainly business is based on supply and demand, meaning there's a scarcity. There's scarce resources and there's a certain amount of demand, and that dictates how business is run. We look at it from the opposite perspective of there's more than enough time, more than enough resources, more than enough skills on site, and more than enough talent. We just have to take stock of the resources we do have so that we can accelerate and maximize our potential as an institution, as a company. So resources and don't necessarily mean just financial. It means looking at everything that you have access to, your community, different people, volunteers, and all the rest of that makes you an abundant business or abundant place. There's value in so many different things we often overlook. There's many other parts that sacred commerce has inspired for our company, so we've chosen a couple of those principles and attempted to integrate them, and it definitely has improved our ability to be more present from a management perspective, from a staff perspective to the customer, and I believe that people receive that presence and have a positive experience as a result.
Wow. I definitely think it does come across to the customers, because it kind of feels like, well, me as a patron coming, it feels like the staff become friends because I get to know them on that level. It's not something that you have to, like you said, leave that part of you at home and not share who you are with, the customers. It is shared. So
yeah,
it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's about creating a culture of transparency. Like, when it's really busy and we haven't been able to go to a table in a while at the restaurant, we won't just apologize profusely and give them a dish on the house. We'll apologize and say, I really apologize that I couldn't make it to your table in time. I've had to run this and grab that table and help those people seated at the door. So I hope you understand where I'm coming from. And we really allow people to break that barrier between and just make a human connection about our imperfections. And that helps us show up and not feel bad about where we're at, and know that we're always in process and we're always going to be perfectly imperfect through it all. And if people can recognize that, they're not as angry, and we're not feeling as bad that we can't serve them to our highest capacity, because it happens. Sometimes we have tons of customer service slip-ups or slowdowns, or it's just part of the industry.
So when there's a bump, whether it's within the staff or if it's with customers, how would you go about handling it?
Well, I guess it just depends on the bump. Like I said, transparency is a huge one for us, right? And the other part of it is listening, really hearing and reflecting back what the issue is. So that, I think more so it's about reading between the lines, that it's not always that the actual issue at hand, that's the actual issue at hand. It's more people might not be felt like they haven't been heard or acknowledged or received or accepted, or there's things behind the story. So a lot of it is just about holding space when somebody's going through a particular experience of emotion that feels out of the ordinary. So whether it be for our staff, we'll hold space and we'll often practice reflection and listening to really hear what's going on. The other part of it is, creating a culture of transparency and openness, like I said, helps people feel like they can, they don't have to hide who they are, and we can get to the bottom of things a lot more faster. And then we, also really encourage and support full self-governance and self-responsibility. So if you're mad because somebody has done something to you, it really is about why are you mad? How are you processing the fact that you're mad? And what can you do for yourself to get back into a state of balance? What do you need? It's not about somebody did something to you. So really removing that victim idea and creating a culture where we're all trying to get better and we're all trying to heal. And it's like we also all try to provide moment-to-moment feedback. It doesn't have to be built up until the end of the night where you're about to explode and then you have to talk to this person and you're so angry and you're so triggered, but rather just attempting to diffuse energy and distraction or disappointment or upset as it happens in the moment, things like that. So yeah, really just trying to achieve more of an evolved state of being so that we all can show up and be happy in our lives and feel present to what's going on and not push it behind the surface and just be all happy-go-lucky all the time, but accept what's coming in and really practice forgiveness, acceptance, self-responsibility, those types of things, and use our business as a training ground for the rest of our lives. Kind of like how we use yoga and then we take what we learned from yoga and we take it off the mat. And same principle is really like business as a path of awakening. It's no different from when I'm outside having personal relations with my family members or my close friends. I still use those same principles of transparency and self-responsibility, that type of stuff.
Wow. I think a training ground is right, because I can imagine from the staff when they first start working till maybe when they part ways because life brought them something else. I could probably see how their life, I'm sure, is transformed because of working at Noorish.
Yeah, in a way it is true. Life is transformed because they show up for their lives, and we create the environment for them to show up for their lives, whatever's happening. If you look at it from a business perspective, it's also good business because you have things like staff retention. People don't want to leave when it's that good.
Yeah.
You don't battle other things like people walking off the job because they're angry, or large conflicts that happen because they don't ever brew to that extent. They get sorted out in the moment and people get on track. They're more productive. They're more present for the customers. So a lot of this that we work through also reflects very positively from an efficient and effective business standpoint as well. So it's really beautiful. The more you become in integrity and the more they become in integrity to themselves, the more the business holds a very strong sense of values that people can connect with, and the more you build customer loyalty as well.
Wow.
So on so many levels, the business is flourishing.
Wow. You have other things happening with people in the restaurant. So something with volunteering and volunteers. Will you tell us about that?
Right. Yeah. Well, we really care about the concept of it's not just a business, it's about creating community. So we opened up our business. Sometimes we have, like most times, there's paid employees on site. But people that do want to learn about the ways of our business, or want to learn what happens in the kitchen, or just want to be part of community and have extra time, they have an opportunity to volunteer on site and get some extra skills and connect with our staff. In exchange for yoga, food and drink and stuff like that. So there's benefits to that. For our staff, we have what's called the Community Warrior Program, and basically we like to say to our staff that if you're generous with the community, we'll be generous with you. So in order to support the surrounding community, not just the Noorish community, if they go outside and volunteer certain hours of time, they exchange that for a yoga pass in the yoga studio. And to me, that's a very big win-win situation, because we have healthy staff who are participating in the other aspects of the lifestyle of our business, who are getting healthier, getting more connected to their community, and they're also volunteering. And so it it pays back in dividends for everybody, in my opinion, even though it's not a money exchange. And I think that's what's really important is, starting to look beyond abundance, not just in terms of money, but in terms of all of our resources, our human resources, our things we can pull from, skill sets that exist, and also just, I don't know, like physical resources, things people can bring to the table at the cafe, and like music, like people can come bring their skill set and play music and then have a chance as well to earn money through the vehicle we've created. And so it's kind of inspiring to see all of those things happen too. And
wow. So has it ever felt like, do you ever feel pressure because these are like pretty leading edge principles that make complete sense, but most businesses aren't run this way? So was there a pressure to like hold that space in the community?
There's definitely a very strong desire to uphold sustainable business from a financial perspective, so that we can continue to create community. Because if you're not playing by the rules of finances, you're not paying your bills, and you're not paying your rent, and able to provide a service that reflects what people are paying you, then you do have some really key concerns in the sustainability of your business. So all this flowery, amazing human awakening stuff is really great, but you definitely have to have the foundation in place first. So I focus. The pressure is more on myself creating a sustainable business so that I can continue to pay so many community members. We can continue to grow right livelihood in our community. So the outcome and intention's always fueling what I do, but I definitely have to play by the rules of business and understand that game as well. And I don't necessarily feel it as a pressure. I feel it as an exciting challenge, because it helps us grow more skills as a community as well. Entrepreneurism is not something to shy away from. Business is not something to be afraid of. We often get afraid, like, oh, we've got to play with the sharks, but we're just, these little small-time people. Well, I think Noorish is a really great example of how to maintain conscious local business that's transparent about your small business values, and still operate successfully in a big business world, where we draw in clients that are not just our friends. So yeah, there's a balance between maintaining the standards of the industry and really keeping that up to par, and holding space for your values. You can't be too value-based, otherwise you forget to be creating the service that people are demanding, and vice versa. You can't be too service-based, or you just become run-of-the-mill, and people no longer are inspired by what you're doing, and it's a reason for them to go elsewhere. So
it's amazing that you balance that. So is there some of these practical business skills that you really, after being in business for this long, that you really see are really valuable, like that maybe you could pass on?
Certainly.
Yeah.
I alluded to it at the beginning, more about really garnering pre-commitment of your concept before you even get it out there. A lot of people are afraid to talk about their idea because they think it might be just dissolved or like judged. So having faith in your concept also means doing due diligence to know you've got a unique idea. So if you are a personal practitioner, like a massage therapist or a Reiki healer or an acupuncturist, and you're just starting your own business, really working on what sets you aside, what are your skill sets, becoming good and confident at articulating that is very important in the beginning. Not to the extent that you're, touting your own horn all the time, but allowing people to see what the difference between your Reiki healing is and somebody else's, or allowing people to recognize what the value of your program is. And if you don't see value authentically, really working to do things like partnering with other groups, partnering with other people, offering multiple services, or I can't underestimate the value of partnerships and how much that brings. Just for example, we did this event called a Farm to Fork Affair with Tad and with Kalina from Brad Lazarenko from Kalina, and the idea with that was like, Noorish has only been alive for a year, but Brad's Kalina has been alive for 8 years, and Tad's The Local Good has been around and has a different network of people, and that I might not have reached out to. So just in creating that partnership alone, we were able to extend the network base for that event. And just sort of putting yourself out there in more unique ways is really important. The other part I would say that's also really important that we often underestimate is being very transparent about our values. People don't choose a service because they need the service often. They choose the service because it makes them feel good. They choose a product because it makes them feel good. Wow. And so really working on, what do we do that make things so much more Noorish than just any other restaurant? Of course, we're organic and we're vegan or we're vegetarian, and those are the basic things people can connect to from a value level. But we also are not really shy to talk about the fact that we really believe in connecting and hugging and loving each other and awakening and consciousness and rising consciousness and building unity and building community. And those are things that other people that might not be vegans can still connect with. And so again, it's like really being transparent about your values. Very huge for us. And then, just hard work. Just really committing to your concept and believing in your concept, even when you're facing a lot of self-doubt or, that type of stuff. Just work on following through on your word is really important, and really being integrity with that.
Wow. This is amazing, Sheniz.
Cool.
Where's Noorish going? What's down the road?
That's exciting. I mean, there's always talk of expansion and, franchise requests all the time, and expansion. We want to try to open up maybe a smaller version of Noorish in the city of Edmonton, but more like just like a fresh pressed juice bar and a small retail store. There's also this idea of the urban Noorish and also a rural Noorish, and having a retreat center or a cottage restaurant where we do eventually grow our own greens and have more of a deeper connection with the land. We are looking at the possibility of having a rooftop greenhouse where people will get to see that we're connecting again to the idea of growing our own food. Because that farm to fork, that connection is really important for us now. And it's good that it's organic, and it's good that we're a local business and things like that, but what's the next level of integrity? And it's going to the source for us. So we have acquired our own greenhouse, and we're growing over 100 different varieties of things, which is quite ambitious. For this year, that we're going to get to test out on the menu in our specials, and we're going to also have the chance for staff to go out on the farm and plant these. We've already started planting the seeds, but sow the seedlings into the ground and watch them grow and harvest them and connect to the food on that level. So it's more about deepening our connection to each other, deepening our connection to the food and land and the earth, and also being also more connected to our values and being more transparent about that. We're working on a corporate social responsibility plan, and something I've been calling the Noorish Manifesto. So what are we doing from a company standpoint and from a food sourcing standpoint about going local and that type of stuff, and being very transparent about how we're running our business behind the scenes for people. Yeah, and then we're also looking into getting renewable energy technology on site, getting some solar panels going so that we can offset our electrical costs and lower our carbon footprint. We're looking at expanding our partnerships with other collaborative, like-minded businesses and offering discounts to them so that they can work more closely with us and we can work more closely with them. We are expanding our events and more food workshops coming, more education. We're working on a self-reliance symposium, so really helping people understand how they can take these concepts and build back traditional skills like fermenting and, you know, fetching your own spring water and making your own food at home, that type of stuff. So we're going to be launching a sustainability series, and also during the time where you can, you know, how to wild harvest your own, you know, wild greens in the river valley and that type of stuff. We're really getting onto more do-it-yourself culture. Localize what you're doing, connect to what you're doing, and gain more valuable skills that we've been losing. So that's kind of where we're heading as a company. Yeah, it's a lot.
Wow. I'm truly impressed, Sheniz, by like someone's just is you as clear and as grounded and as loving as you, is like holding all these pieces together so beautifully in this, and the impact that it makes on the community. Like, what a gift to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, thanks for opening this up to the community and sharing your gifts too, of like your talent of film and communications, to get these ideas out to people so that they're getting more inspired about it, because there's lots we can do always, and there's lots of opportunity to connect with Noorish if people are interested, and for us to support other businesses in the area, because we're really open to that. So thank you again.
Thanks, Sheniz.
Yeah.